Hi, I'm Liz with Liz's Crafts, and today I have for you 4 more beach DIYs. So if you like what you see, please subscribe, like, and comment. First DIY is one of the garden bowls from the Dollar Tree and some sisal rope that I got at Ollie's, but you could use any rope as long as all your ropes are the same size. So you're just going to glue the end of the rope onto itself, and once you get that done, you just put some glue on the bottom outside of the bowl. So make sure your bowl is turned upside down. You put your glue on the center of the bowl, and then you're just going to glue and wrap your rope around it. And you're just going to keep doing that until you get to where the bowl starts to flare out. And you can get your rope at the Dollar Tree. You can get it at any hardware store, Walmart. Like I said, I got my rope at Ollie's, but just basically any store that carries hardware kind of stuff would have it. So as you can see here, I've stopped at the point where my bowl starts to flare out, and I cut two 12-inch pieces of my rope to make handles. And I'm just taking some of the hot glue, taking it from where we put that last piece of rope on to the very top of the garden bowl. And then you're going to glue the other side, but you're going to leave 3 inches in between. And that makes a nice handle for your piece. And I've seen other crafters make these type of bowls. One of them was 6 kids and a glue gun. She did hers a little bit different than what I'm doing. So if you want to go watch how she did hers, feel free to do so. And then I'm just going to put a handle on the opposite side of the bowl from where I just put that one, leaving 3 inches in between where I'm gluing the handles. And then I'm just going to take up, putting my rope back around the rest of the bowl. And as I take it to the handle, you're going to go up and over the handles. So you want to make sure when you do that, you're holding your rope down onto your bowl until it sets up, your glue sets up. Because if you don't, it won't attach itself. So you're just going to continue like this around the bowl until you have the whole bowl covered. Once you have the whole outside covered, then I'm going to take my lighter and I'm just going to burn off some of those pieces that are hanging out from the sisal rope. It is pretty furry. And now we're going to flip our bowl over and we're going to do the same thing to the inside. The only thing is we're going to use 3 different types of rope. But when you choose your rope, you want to make sure they're all the same size. So here I'm just taking the sisal rope and doing the same thing to it. And now I'm adding some blue cord to it. Now this is that blue and tan nautical rope that's from the Dollar Tree. I just took it apart and I'm just using the blue portion. It's the same size as the sisal rope that I was using. So I just have a piece of it, excuse me, and I'm just going to use what I have. So once I get it around as many times as I can. Then I cut the end and glue that off. And now I'm going to add some of the clothesline rope, and it's cotton rope. And I believe I got this either at Walmart or one of the hardware stores. And it is the same size as the sisal rope and the blue rope. I'm sorry, I'm putting the sisal rope on. The clothesline rope comes after this. So I finished with my sisal rope, and I want to go ahead and burn off the hairs that are sticking up. And now I'm using the clothesline rope, which again is the same size as the other two ropes. So I'm just doing the same thing, wrapping it around the whole bowl. Once I get it all around, then I notice that you know, my lines aren't exactly even, but that's okay. We can work with that. So if you find that that happens, just go ahead and end that rope and then put another piece on. And if you cut your rope at an angle, then you don't see it as much when it's attached. And there it is. So that's it for DIY number 1. I think it turned out great. So here's DIY number 2. So for this one, I have 2 wood rounds, and I want to say I got these probably from Hobby Lobby. And then I have these beads. So we're going to take these beads, 4 of them, and we're going to add it to one of the rounds just with some hot glue. You can use wood glue, and that's probably what I should have used, but I just went ahead and used hot glue. So I'm just putting 3 on the bottom of the first round. And the second round, I'm going to glue 2 of the beads together. So this little riser is going to be a little bit higher than the other riser. And these are the beads that came off the Dollar Tree nautical garland that had either the sailboat or I don't know, the helm, different items on it. So these are the beads from that garland. So again here I'm just going to glue 3 of these on that I've glued 2 together, and that's going to be the second riser. And I didn't do anything to these rounds because I thought they looked nice the way they were. So now I have one of the pillar candles from the Dollar Tree. It's one of the LED ones. And I have some napkins from Tuesday Morning. So these are just some nautical napkins. And I've already used this one on an earlier project. And I had this left over. So what I'm going to do is take the edge of the napkin and just tear off what I don't want. So I don't want my napkin to go all the way up to the top of my candle. And I just think it looks better to tear it than it does to cut it with your scissors. And then what we're going to do is we're going to wrap this around, and we're going to take the heat gun, because these candles do have wax on the outside of them. So I'm just trying to figure out what part of the napkin I want to be on my candle, because it is larger than my candle. And then I'm just going to take my heat gun and I'm going to heat it up. And you'll see when the wax starts to melt, it'll change the color of the napkin a little bit. So it'll kind of make it see-through. It does take a little bit of time, so take your time with this. But I think the end result is really nice. And I've seen Heidi Scott on DIY Dreaming do this. So I thought I would try my hand at it. And I think it turned out really good. So there's some of the wax that came off the candle when I was rubbing my finger over the napkin where it melted. So again, you're just taking your heat gun, putting it on the napkin which is on your candle, and then you're just going to rub it down a little bit. Now you want to use the first setting on your heat gun. You don't want to use the hottest setting because you'll probably melt the whole candle. Now you do want to make sure that you heat it up wherever the napkin is, and you can see right there where the candle wax is melting. So I'm just rubbing my finger over it, making it lay down. And now I'm going to cut off the excess napkin. I'm going to continue on with heating it and laying it down. I just love the way this turned out. It's so nice. So I do have a little bit of overlap on where the two edges of the napkin came together. You could cut that off if you wanted to, but what I do is I take a little bit of the wax that came off the candle and I put it in between those two pieces of napkin and then melt it so it lays down flat. And I'm trimming up the excess napkin on the bottom of the candle. And here's where I put the wax in between the two layers of napkin. And then you just melt it and it sticks together. Has anybody ever tried this? If you have, put something in the comment. Again, I'm just trimming the excess napkin up a little bit more. And then I'm going to turn these on and put them on the risers. I just think they turned out so cute. I love them. And since I used two different parts of the napkin for the front, then they look different. So I'm showing you a spot that hasn't fully stuck to the candle, so you just heat it up, let the candle wax melt, and then just take your finger and rub it down. That's it. I love these. Is this something that you all like too? Let me know if you're going to try something like this. I would love to see what you do. All right, well, that's it for DIY number 2. On to DIY number 3. So for this DIY, you're going to need one of those little fish bowl looking glasses from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to use 4 more of those square beads from the Dollar Tree garland. And I'm just going to hot glue these onto the bottom of my jar. Give it some little feet there. And I did see another YouTube crafter make this, and I thought I would try my hand at it. I don't remember which crafter it was. So if you're watching this and you know who it was, please put her name in the comments. And now I'm just going to take a piece of that nautical rope from the Dollar Tree. I just cut off the end of it where the tape is. And I cut mine at an angle so that you can fit the ends of it together better when the two ends meet. So I'm just going to hot glue this around the bottom of my container. I want to say this rope is the smaller size rope, but I'm not real sure about that. You just add whatever size rope you think looks good on yours. And again, I'm going to cut the end of this at an angle going in the opposite direction, and then these will glue together more seamlessly. I mean, you can still see where they're hooked together, but it'll look better if you cut them at an angle. And be careful with your hot glue. I'm using a low temperature glue gun, so I do get out my little tool there and flatten the end pieces together a little bit. Now I'm going to take the short living little decal that you can get from Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to add that to my container. So I'm just smoothing it down. You do get a few air bubbles in it, but just try to work those with your fingernail. You can get most of them out. You're still going to have a few. And I did have to take my scissors, or no, my X-Acto knife, and cut a piece of it and make it overlap each other because it was a pretty bad bubble there. So I'm just working out the bubbles. Like I said, they don't all come out, but it doesn't look too bad. It does take some time to work those bubbles out. So the next thing I'm going to do is just add some big pieces of items I've picked up over the years and add those to the bottom of my container. And then I'm going to take a lot of these shells that I have from the Dollar Tree. So I just got a bag of those, and I'm putting a bunch of those in there. So I'm just kind of filling it up, probably about 2/3 of the way with shells. Once I have all the shells in there that I want, I'm going to add some water to it. So I'm going to fill it pretty full. And then I'm putting a floating candle on the top. Like I said, I did see another crafter on YouTube do this. I cannot remember who it was. If you know who it is, you can put her name in the comments. So again, I'm just adding a few more shells, and some of these float and some of them don't. I kind of like the ones that are floating there. I think this turned out pretty well. I'm liking it. Oh, and the floating candles, you get 2 in a package from the Dollar Tree. So I'm just going to light my candle here so you can see what it looks like lit. And then I'm going to turn the light off. so you can see it a little bit better. Isn't that cute? Like I said, not all the bubbles came out of the decal. But I love the way this turned out. And now here it is with the lights off. Love it. And now on to DIY number 4. So for this DIY, we have those little boxes from the Dollar Tree. They have 3 different sizes, so we have one of each size. And I'm just removing that metal piece that's on the front of each of them. And we're going to save these because we'll probably use them for another DIY later down the road. So don't throw these out. So I'm taking them off of all 3 of the boxes. And now I have some tumbling tower blocks and my wood glue, both of which are from the Dollar Tree. So I'm just taking 2 of the blocks and gluing them side by side. So I do this 8 times. So you want 8 2-piece blocks. And now you're going to take those 2-piece blocks and you're going to glue 2 of them together. One on top of the other. So just like that. So you're going to do that with all your blocks. So once you have those done, you want to mark the bottom of the 2 smaller boxes to see where to put your stand. So I'm just marking the middle. So I'm taking my ruler corner to corner and just marking the center of the box. Just the small and the medium box. And now I'm going to take my blocks that I put together and I'm going to take two 4-piece blocks and glue them end to end. So you're going to have 2 sets of 4-piece blocks. I mean two sets of 8-piece blocks. Is that right? Yes. And those are going to be our center stands for our little tier tray. So now what I'm taking is some of this backling, and it either came from a hardware store or the Dollar Tree, and then I have a toothpick, and I'm just filling up the little holes on the front of the boxes. You don't need much of the spackling, and the holes don't go all the way through. So once I have that done and those dry, then I just take my sanding sponge and I sand them down. Now I'm going to take my acrylic paint, which is from Waverly, and it's the Ocean Blue. And I'm going to water it down quite a bit. I want to give these boxes like a whitewash, but with the blue paint. I want to be able to see the lines of the wood looking through the paint. So you see I add some water. It still seemed a little thick, so I add some more water to it. I thin it up even more. So I paint all of these little boxes, each of them, the outside, the inside, the bottom, the edges, the whole thing. And once you have it painted, then you're just going to take a paper towel and you're just going to wipe it down. So as you can see, you can still see the lines of the wood showing through the paint, and that's exactly the look I was going for. And now we're going to do the same thing to the inside of the box. And you want to do that with all 3 boxes. Once you have that done, then you want to do it to your tumbling tower blocks. So when you do your tumbling tower blocks, you want to do the sides, the front and the back, but don't worry about the ends. You're going to glue the ends down and nobody's going to see those. So once you get the watered down paint on, then you're going to wipe it off with your paper towel. And see how that looks? I just love the way the wood design comes through the paint. So now where you had your holes that you spackled, you want that towards the back. So we have a decal that I printed out on my Cricut. It says sun, sea, and sand. So this is the smallest of the boxes. I'm going to put sun on it. Isn't that cute? I love it. Now for the medium box, I'm going to use sea. And for the large box, we're going to use sand. And again, make sure the side with the holes are in the very back. Now once that is done, you're going to take your wood glue, you're going to put it on your tumbling tower blocks, and you're going to put it on the bottom of the smallest box. And you want to line it up with that X that you put on the bottom of the box. And see, I had mine turned backwards, so I had to turn it around because I want the broader side of the tumbling tower blocks to be facing forward. And then you just do the same thing with the medium-sized box. Now when using the wood glue, you want to make sure that everything dries before you start moving your pieces and putting them together. So you want to set this aside to dry before you go on to the next step. So here we're going to glue one box to the other box. And this is the medium box to the large box. So you want to make sure that your words are facing the same direction. And then you want to put your medium box on and line it up so that it lines up with the larger box. And then you want to do the same thing to the smaller box. I think I had that one turned the wrong way. So yeah, make sure you have them all facing the right direction. And then you want to set that aside so that it dries. And now we're going to decorate. So I have this bag of pebbles or rocks, whatever you want to call it, from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to put those in the big box at the bottom. So I'm going to put like a nice one layer of the rocks. Once I get that done, then I'm going to take some sand, and this is just some decorative filler sand that I had gotten from Hobby Lobby years ago, and it's just what I have left. So I'm going to use the rest of that in the bottom one. Once I have all the sand in there, then I'm going to take some bigger pieces of just debris, probably pieces of shells and coral and who knows what all that I picked up at the beach. So I'm just going to add some bigger pieces there. I think it's looking good. And now for the middle box, I have the sand that I got from the Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to cut like a slit in the top of the bag so that it's easy to pour out the sand without spilling it everywhere. So I'm going to put that in the middle box. And I'm not going to use a whole lot of it. Maybe a third. I'm just going to spread it out a little bit, and then I'm going to add some shells to it. So I have this sand dollar my husband got me over the years. And then I have these other shells that came from the Dollar Tree. So I'm just going to add those to my box. Some of these other pieces are just pieces I've picked up over the years at the beach. And then I'm adding one of my wood wick candles to the very top. And I love that the blue color of the candle matches perfectly with my little tier tray. And now I'm going to take some of this, man, I don't know what it's called, netting, I guess you could say, from the Dollar Tree. It has really big holes in it, so it goes around the candle really nicely. So I'm just draping it over. I don't want it on top of the candle because if I go to burn the candle, I don't want to burn it. But I normally don't burn these candles anyway. I just like to look at them. So I just draped it over the whole little tier tray, and I think it just gives it another little element of the beach, the sea, sand. And that's it. I think it turned out really, really nice. So that's it for our last DIY. Again, I'm Liz Yonke with Liz's Crafts. I'm also on Facebook if you like to check me out. But if you like what you see, please subscribe to my channel.